Are you in the process of trying to move on with your life after a toxic or narcissistic relationship? Or maybe you're still in it and you're just envisioning what it would be like to finally be out of this drama and just move on with your life. Well, I'm happy for you. Keep doing that and stick around, because in this episode, I'm going to teach you one of the biggest mistakes people make post toxic or narcissistic relationship. Not only am I going to tell you about it, but I'm going to teach you how to avoid making this mistake. This is crucial, so pay attention. Now, this mistake that I'm going to let you know about today is something that people overlook. They actually think that this mistake that they're making is actually a precaution, that it's actually protecting them. However, in one hand it can, but if it goes too far, it can actually cause you more harm, and it can get you right back into another toxic and narcissistic relationship. So get your pen and paper, because I want you to write this down. After listening to this episode, I want you to make sure that you keep not only a mental note of this, but a physical note of this, because as you are progressing through your healing journey and maybe even consider dating again, I want you to remember this, and I want you to periodically reassess, how am I approaching this new relationship or any type of relationship. It doesn't only have to be a romantic relationship. That is the danger of comparison. Okay, write that down. The danger of comparison. One of the biggest mistakes people make after a toxic and narcissistic relationship is comparing the new people in their life, and usually we're talking about romantic relationships here. So let's say a new potential romantic partner with the previous partner that was toxic or narcissistic. Now again, as I said before, I know that this typically can work as a precaution, as a protective measure to say, okay, I don't want to repeat the past, so I'm going to make sure that I look for those same red flags that was in the previous relationship, in the new relationship, which is okay. However, here is where it can get dangerous. Abuse can look different, okay? People who are toxic or narcissistic, they are very manipulative. If they could get paid, where some of them actually do, if they can get paid for how good they are at being manipulative, they would be filthy rich, okay? So what some of them do is they abuse in a different way. And I'm going to give an example. So stick around so you can really understand where I'm coming from here. But abuse can look different. Here's the thing, even for myself, who has a background in as a mental health professional, I understand, the psychology of human beings, and I knew that abuse was more than just physical abuse. I knew that emotional, psychological abuse existed. However, I didn't know how strategic people can be in abusing you, right? And abuse is causing harm, right? Whether it's intentional or not intentional, it's causing ongoing patterns of harm to you, right? So there are people in this world, unfortunately, who enjoy that. And they will study you, they will study your surroundings to see what type of abuse can I inflict on this person, right? What type of abuse can I inflict on this person where it's not gonna look too obvious, right? Now, everyone's different. Everyone's personality is different. Everyone's support system is different. So, if someone came to me, they may figure, okay, I can abuse her in this way, but if I go to Sally over there, I might have to switch it up and do it in this way because it might be too obvious because of her personality and the type of people that are around her, right? So they are very strategic in how they inflict their abuse. And this is why comparison can help you in some sense, because of course you're not going to pick the same exact person that you just left from a toxic or narcissistic relationship. So you are going to look for those similarities in behaviors and red flags and so forth. But you also want to keep in mind that abuse can look different. And that is why I talk about, the healing journey is not just about feeling better, right? It's really about understanding what abuse looks like and setting up your own standards, your own requirements to be with you, to be in your space, to even have access to you. Because what that does is no matter what type of abuse someone brings to you, you're going to have an alarm that goes off that says, wait a minute, something doesn't feel good. And even if you can't explain exactly what doesn't feel good, you're going to start resisting against it. You're going to start setting up some boundaries, right? So you're not solely picking people based off of, are they like my ex? No, you're picking people based off of, are you healthy for me? That is the difference. That is how you avoid the danger of comparison. Again, while it can be good, you don't want that to be your only measuring stick. So let me give you an example of what this could look like. As human beings, we understand things much better when we have examples. Before I give the example though, again, I want to be clear about what the word abuse means, because like I said, even for myself, that was a bit confusing, and not confusing, but it didn't allow me to identify right away that it was abuse. So abuse basically means a pattern of causing pain or showing no remorse about it, right? And let me say this, because I know oftentimes people say, oh, maybe they didn't know. It doesn't matter. Pain is pain, right? And at some point you do express, you do show, that you are having pain, you are in pain, you are, being hurt by someone's behavior. So let's not go down that path of, well, what if they don't know? Pain is pain, so a pattern of causing pain. So now let me go into this example. In my experience of analyzing different relationships and working with different women, I know of a situation where a woman was in a very abusive relationship. She was not physically abused. This was in her younger years. She was not physically abused, but she was married to this person, had children with this person, and they were overtly abusive in the sense of verbally, emotionally, and psychologically abusive, right? And after coming out of that relationship, she was single for many years. Eventually, she met a new person, a new man, who was very kind, very generous, not overtly verbally and psychologically abusive or aggressive, right? Very attentive to her. And she perceived this like, wow, this is very different than the person that I was previously married to, because this person was not, kind, not charming, not attentive to my needs, not affectionate, right? So this new person was very different. However, what this new person did, and don't let me scare you to start a new relationship, but it's just about understanding that people who are manipulative will find new ways and different ways to abuse you. So this new person, while they were nothing like the past person, and she was comparing the new person to the previous person, that they're completely different, which in some sense they were, what she did not see is that this person started to financially abuse her. This person started to gradually borrow money from her over and over, not paying her back, and had a pattern of borrowing money from other people, owing other people, and not paying them back. Would often say, yes, I'm going through a hard time, use the sympathy card, I need help, but never genuinely showing any effort to change their patterns in their own lifestyle where they would not need to continuously borrow money. And even though the woman was expressing that I don't like this, this is making me feel very uncomfortable, it's not a good reputation for myself, for you, let's try to do something different. The borrowing of money became more and more, and it was just piling, and there was no effort on this new man to make an effort to change. So what happened here is that this man saw that this woman had a whole support system around her. She had a very big family, and he knew that he could not physically abuse her, he could not verbally or emotionally abuse her, which he had in other relationships. Right? He knew he could not do it with this woman. So again, these people, and I know it sounds like you're being paranoid to say that someone would actually do this, but you're not paranoid, you're not crazy. There are people in this world who are fulfilled by being able to exploit other people. So if I can't physically abuse you, if I can't verbally abuse you, I'm going to find another way to control, to exploit. And in this case, it was the financial part, because he knew if he tried any other type of abuse, the support system that she had around her would have supported her, right, and would have jumped in. And he knew if he tried the sympathy card, because again, in a lot of cases, women who are, and men too, if you're a man and you're listening to this, just turn around the genders, but typically I'm speaking to women. if you're typically of a good nature, of a good character, and you like to help, right? And they see that. They see that you like to help. They see that you like to support. They see that you like to help to build people, right? Which are all good traits, so don't change that about you. But you have to be careful who you do it with. So this is an example of where comparing a new partner to a previous partner is not bad. However, if that is your only measuring stick, it can cause you to end up right back in another toxic or narcissistic relationship. So you know I don't only like to talk about the problems, but I'm here about solutions. So the solution to this is you need to be clear. Part of your healing journey is to be clear about what are your requirements for someone that is around you, right? And it's not just about being nice, okay? This is one of the things that keep people more susceptible to the tricks, of manipulative people, is your concern with being nice. And I think that was the issue with this woman too. She wanted to help. It's okay to help. It's okay to be nice, but it's also okay to say, I'm nice, but this is where my help stops if something doesn't seem right. It's okay to put a pause on something, to put a pause on your help, to put a pause on a relationship, to put a pause on anything that you're doing if something doesn't feel right. And even if you can't express it, you can't articulate it, you have to go with that gut feeling. And as a believer in Christ, I believe that is God talking to us. That is God warning us, like, wait a minute, something is off. And sometimes we can't verbalize that. We can't put it into words. We can't explain it. And because we can't explain it in the flesh to another person, we think it's not valid. But that is not correct. Your feeling to put a pause, your feeling that something is off is valid even if you can't articulate it. So you want to become clear about what are your requirements, what are your boundaries, what are your standards when you are approaching a new relationship. And don't just look for someone who's nicer than the previous person, because guess what? Niceness can still come along with trickery, with manipulation, with selfish motives. So nice is just not enough. They can't just be nicer than the previous person, better than the previous person. No, they still need to fit in to your requirements, regardless of how they compare to the previous toxic or narcissistic person. I hope that today's episode was helpful for you. Again, I'm a big believer in writing things down. So write down some notes. Watch this again if you need to. Write it down, because I do believe at some point you're going to need this reminder. We all do. And if you want to learn more about some mistakes that you can avoid, there's a link in the description box below of my free e-guide about mistakes that I made and how you can learn to avoid them as well. Thank you again for watching this episode. Make sure you share it with someone who you think needs to hear this, and I will see you in the next one.